grind. I put the family first. I had to work. I got a job. I'm busting just from the first to the third. I had them dirt. I'm about to win. That shit gon' hurt. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I went from the club to the stool. I'm joking shit. I don't want this. I just make love to the.
Hi, welcome back to LeemyHendrix Show. I'm your host, LeemyHendrix, and today I have a special guest.
Hi everybody, my name is Cameron of Prinze Cam Creative, Photography and Visual Direction Services.
So, as y'all know, I took a trip out to LA and I came across this Instagram that was very interesting. What can I say? It wasn't just the photography skills that caught my attention, but it was also a project that he did that caught my attention. Let's talk about In Living Calvin, a Calvin Klein inspired photo series by Prinze Cam Creative.
So, In Living Calvin's is a Calvin Klein inspired photo series. It pretty much talks about physical features, the background stories, and just different categories of African Americans when it comes to modeling, when it comes to body types, when it comes to social background.
Where did you get the idea to present Calvin Klein in color while also creating powerful messages that redefine social norms?
So the basic historical Calvin Klein shoot, that is always presented in black and white. Majority of the time it's Caucasian men and women. Majority of the time it was actually Caucasian men. Most of the time they either have a real frail size body or barely any definition in the body. So I wanted to showcase African American men and women because we are of different sizes and different shapes. And I wanted to put that out there. But I also wanted to add the whole social background as well. So gay, straight, trans, anything like that, I wanted to put that out there.
As you can tell, we're about to get into some things viewers will find interesting is that you are redefining social norms and putting your version of what equality and humanity should be. The mentality of this art is universal. You're not only challenging the social norms of sexual appeal versus reality, masculinity versus sexuality, stereotype versus the spectrum, and body image versus
the execution.
The execution. Good, you remember your things. Coming out of all this, I think we all would like to know, what was your passion, creativity, mindset, and ambition while working on this amazing project?
So I was all over the place, to be honest, when I did it. Again, that was the background story, just the whole showcasing physical features and social backgrounds. But I actually ended up doing a lot of just shooting for the most part, and then towards the end, I started thinking about just the 4 models that I used and just the differences between them. Literally, I used 2 gay guys, 1 straight guy, and 1 female. So with the female, she lost a lot of weight. She used to be a bigger girl. She lost a lot of weight, and when you see her, she comes off just as a skinny girl. But then when you start shooting her, it's like, okay, you have you get a little definition there, you got some abs there, you got a nice body there. So then I thought about, I was like, this is still sexy. The typical woman, especially in black culture, she's thick, nice boobs, nice butt. So it's like, oh, that's the only thing that's sexy. That's not true. So I was like, let me do the whole sex appeal versus reality, showcasing that realistically, black women are all shapes and sizes and they're all beautiful. When it came to the guys, the straight guy that I did use, it was about masculinity versus sexuality. You can still do a less masculine thing in life and still maintain your sexuality. Just because you pose in underwear for a camera does not mean that your sexuality changes. And then moving on to the whole stereotype versus the spectrum, it showcases that just because you're gay does not mean that you're flamboyant. It doesn't mean that, it also doesn't mean that you're manly. You can be in between. The spectrum it goes all over the place, both ways. So showcasing that, and then lastly, showcasing image versus execution. Not all black men are buff. Not all black men are skinny. Not all black men who are skinny can lift weights the way black men, who are buff can, and then vice versa. Not all black men who are buff can do the things that skinnier black men can do. You put somebody like The Rock versus Chris Brown and take away the fact that Chris Brown can dance and put them into a dance competition. Chris Brown probably still would win that dance competition because he can move his body in certain ways that The Rock can't. So that was the concept of that.
I think what's interesting, and I have the receipts. My handy dandy notebook right here. Let's open it up. Because you also have your own website.
I do.
And this is where I'm at right now, this website.
So my website is PrinzeCamCreative.com. That's Prince with a Z, not a C.
I think my favorite one was Stereotype versus the Spectrum. So, I don't know if y'all can see, but he has a little message right there that he's about to read. Because why should I read it when we can get the words right from him?
So stereotypes versus the spectrum. So this is just a small little quote or small little rundown of everything. So did you know that sexuality is on a spectrum? Did you know that different human beings act and live in different ways according to their own attraction and desire? We all have different interests. To assume a gay male is automatically feminine or a female athlete is automatically a lesbian is ignorant. Being shocked that your assumption was wrong is even more ignorant. The sexual spectrum offers people a wide variety of classifications that should not limit them to the butt of every stereotypical joke. Understanding is not required. For an ignorant mind, that's impossible, but however, respect is demanded.
It was that right there. It was that message. Because I feel like as a photographer, anybody can take pictures, and looking through a photographer's photos, that's just one aspect of getting to know them.
Yeah.
But to actually see them do a project and read their words and get a glimpse of how creative they are from their mindset, that's what made me want to be like, oh, I want to work with him. He just really thought that out. Can you read one more that you think your favorite one is?
Yeah. So my favorite actually is.
There's 4 of them.
So my favorite actually was the masculinity versus sexuality, because I always feel like, especially male models, and just in the black community, because I can only speak for the black community, I feel like African Americans, unfortunately, we do tear each other down in ways that it's just really so disrespectful. And we already are fighting for so many other rights as a whole. But being, in the black community, it's like, okay, as a whole in the black community, I feel like it is true that black men, just because you're doing, different types of photos, just different types of activities, period, that does not take away from your sexuality. And I want to showcase that because that really is an ignorant thing in the black community, unfortunately. So this is masculinity versus sexuality. Society is under this impression that taking hypermasculinity out of a setting will cause a change in one's sexuality. Neither of them go hand in hand. Femininity does not mean gay, nor does masculinity mean straight. Hypermasculinity has driven such a wedge in the relationships of black people to the point that fathers are too masculine to have a tea party with their daughters, or mothers are ashamed of their young son for expressing emotions of hurt and sadness through tears. So be comfortable in your sexuality, allow yourself to go outside of your norm, and boxing yourself in does not bring success.
I think that is so relatable because in the gay community, I witnessed so many conversations where people automatically assume, oh, well, if you're dating a guy, which one's the feminine one, which one's the masculine one?
Which I find so disrespectful. I personally like the phrase dominance versus submissiveness. The difference being is you can go both ways, especially with versatility. You can go both ways. Just because somebody is more dominant, just as a person, does not mean they can have their submissive moments, and then vice versa. And that goes the same thing with heterosexual lifestyle. Like I've seen my mother, a single mother, play both father and mother. And I've seen her get down and dirty, washing the car, changing somebody's oil, waxing the car, all that type of stuff, which she was taught by a man. But that does not change her submissiveness and femininity as well. So.
Yeah, that's one for the culture. That is one for the culture. So, I want to ask you 10 questions in 5 minutes. Let's see. Get the timer on.
Come on, timer.
not use my watch, it's just for show and tell.
I'm weak.
Half the time it's dead.
Oh, that's weird. Did you have like on the screen your big time? Yes, this interview is going better than I thought it was going to be.
It's just a
I wasn't nervous. I just thought I was going to be mumbling.
It's just a conversation.
You know what it is?
I got it. You ready?
I'm ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 minutes on the clock. Starting now. Since photography techniques and equipment changes frequently, is it important to stay up to date?
No, so it's not. It's really based off of the lens that you have. I know people who have had cameras for 8, 9 years, and they do better photos than a lot of other photographers that I know, people that have brand new cameras.
So, a follow-up question to that. What is your most important equipment?
Ooh, to be honest, the most important equipment, I mean, of course, the camera, but I would say any type of lighting equipment that you have. And that can be flash, that could be the default flash on the camera. It could be external flash, any type of lighting equipment, because lighting always is changing.
Question 2. Nowadays, almost everyone has access to a device which is possible to take pictures. What do you think is the biggest difference between a professional photographer and anyone doing photography for a hobby?
Okay, so I'm gonna look at the camera with this one. Just because you have an iPhone, listen people, just because you have an iPhone does not make you a photographer at all. Like, it does not make you a photographer. Photographers are booked because they have an eye for detail. Anybody can use a phone and take a photo, but if you know how to get an angle, you know how to change the lighting, if you know how to edit, all that type of stuff, then that makes you a photographer.
So you're trying to say if I got that one friend that's going to get on the floor,
Just
lay down and take my pictures, she's not a photographer?
Just because she gets on the floor does not make her a photographer, but she's doing better than a lot of other people. I will say that. I definitely will say that.
That was a shout out to you, James. Question 3. How do you connect with difficult clients?
Ooh, so difficult clients. I mean, I'm always professional at the end of the day, and that was taught just from like regular 9-to-5 jobs. I always keep my cool because for the simple fact it is my brand. Like, this is Prinze Cam Creative, this is my brand. I'm not about to sit there and disrespect my brand by being disrespectful to somebody else who's being disrespectful to me. I have no issue with, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this shoot. You wanna talk about me, you can, but that's for my sake.
Y'all hear that? Professionalism. Professionalism. Question 4. How would you describe your photography style?
So I do a lot of portrait and style photography, lifestyle photography. Those are like my 2 go-tos. I really don't have like a description of my own style. Like, to be honest, a lot of times, and I'm not saying this all the time, but a lot of times in photography, mistakes happen when it comes to shooting, and a lot of times that comes out as an amazing photo. So again, you know, my 2 favorite styles are portrait and lifestyle, but yeah, I mean, I really don't have that description of my own, at least yet.
I get it. 5. Is there any other photographer that you consider an influencer?
Ooh, I have a few. So shout out to my mentor, Dre, at LeemyHendrix Visuals. But a lot of people such as AJ Calloway of AJ Image, Jacob Webster of JVW Photo, other people like Christopher Mars, yeah.
And what kind of pictures?
And they're all black photographers, by the way.
Question 6. What kind of pictures do you like to shoot in your free time compared to the ones you hate shooting?
So in my free time, I do a lot of content shoots. I love seeing content shoots on Instagram and social media, like just like celebrities and stuff like that. So that's one thing I really want to get into, just doing different content shoots. Because think about when things like Instagram were first made, MySpace, Facebook, we all used to put our little photos up of our new outfits, stuff like that. But now you have a lot of people who are professional photographers getting hired to do these photos and to do them in creative ways. So I really want to start doing that. And every now and then I may hit up one of my friends like, hey, you know, you got a new outfit, let's do a shoot. And then the ones I hate, I'm gonna be honest, I hate doing scenic photography, and I'm trying to shy away from doing event photography.
What kind of photography is that?
So event photography would be, say if somebody hired me for like a barbecue, or to do a photo of their, I don't know, like I said, barbecue, or like
Birthday parties, stuff like
No,
that?
yeah, like a party, yeah, like do photos at parties. Now, if there are certain parties where it's networking involved, I'm down. I love it. I think that's dope. Like I see so many different photographers now doing that. I love that. But just the basic barbecues, parties, engagement parties, stuff like that. I'm not gonna say I'm over it because it does give me, good practice as well as money. But eventually I'm gonna shy away from it. And then scenic photography is just boring to me. That's when you just take photos of like just the area, landscape and stuff like that.
Okay. 7. What is the most rewarding part about being a photographer for you?
The rewarding part, definitely just putting a smile on people's faces, showing them that, especially for those who are not models, with models, they see their photos every day. They know what they look like. It's already a booster for them. But to be able to boost somebody's ego who is not a model and who has never done professional photos, I think that's beautiful. Because I know how I feel for myself. Anytime that I do photos, I think about as if I'm in front of the camera. So if I'm making somebody else happy, I'm making myself happy.
That's a good response.
Thank you.
8. What motivates you to continue taking pictures?
The outcome of every photo, I get better and better every day. Like I literally was just looking at my website the other day, adding some new photos and seeing older photos, and I'm like, I remember what I was doing with this photo. Like I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and then I see photos now. I'm like, yeah, I actually know what I'm doing. So that constant practice and that constant, that constant practice and just that constant elevation is amazing.
9. What does photography mean to you?
Photography to me.
Ooh, we got the 9. Just when the clock ran out, but you can finish answering it.
So photography means to me telling people stories. So, you look 10, 15, 100 years from now, seeing somebody's photos, you don't know anything about that person, but you can look up that photographer and look up their background and the type of photos that they enjoy doing, and you probably could tell that story through that person's photo, just based on what that photographer, what that photographer, the type of photography that photographer did.
That's a little cliche, but I get it.
I was trying to put it together the right way.
10. Exactly what is it that you want your photos to say, and how do you actually get your photos to do it?
To be honest, I feel like every photographer, this may be a little cocky, every photographer wants their photos to say like, oh, they're damn good, like they're a good ass photographer. But for the most part, I just want, them to say like, oof. I can't think of it. I'm on a road, don't keep fucking up, shit. Give me a second. Yeah, most photographers, again, it's a little cocky, but most photographers want their work to say like they're good. But honestly, I just want my work to say like I make people happy. Like, I'm good and I make people happy. That's for the most part. Just to keep it simple.
That was our 10 questions, 5 minutes round. Moving on, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and then after the 2 questions, I'm going to ask you 1 question before everything is over.
Okay.
How do you go from being an inspiring photographer to actually doing it full time as a living?
Practice. So once you keep practicing,
I messed that up.
good, because I just cleared my throat. Go ahead.
That has been 10 questions, 5 minutes round. We're moving forward. So I want to ask you 2 questions for our viewers, basically giving them a word of advice. How do you go from being an inspiring photographer to someone doing it full time as a living?
Practice. So it's all about practice. Literally, I started off just hitting up certain friends of mine who I knew that, they had projects coming up. Shout out to Troy with Flawed the Musical. He used to hit me up all the time. He had a musical going on that he co-wrote, that he actually wrote, produced, directed, all that, choreographed. And he literally would have me come do the rehearsals. And he actually would pay me. But for me, it wasn't about the payment, it was about the practice. So
Still pay your friends. Pay your friends.
So as a black creative, pay your black creatives what they're worth, like for real. Because some people, it's a mess. It was just about practice. So he gave me that practice. And then also my mentor, he also gave practice. Coming, shadowing him with a lot of shoots that we did. We would do like competitions all the time. We literally drove out all the way to the desert to do like with 2 of our models. We did a whole competition of like whose photo was going to be better. And he actually put that photo, one of the photos I did, he actually put it into his gallery. And we actually voted. I did lose, but at the same time, like nobody knew that I took that photo. And people literally, I think I lost by like 1 vote out of like 50 people. Yeah, so like it was pretty dope. But it's just about practice. Once you get that practice going, eventually you're gonna start thinking of just different creative content, and you're gonna continue doing that content, practicing. In Living Calvins, for example, that literally was just a thought in my mind. Got a whole bunch of models together, and now it's actually out. But yeah, it's just really about practice
And having fun. So
yeah,
you had a lot of fun.
yeah, and organizational. Just organizing your brand and putting it together. I didn't start off with a website. I just created my website January of this year. And having that website has been a blessing because literally it's a direct view into my portfolio and it's a direct link to me. You use that website, press that booking button, and you're right, directly to me.
You gotta know what I'm thinking about right now? I'm thinking about making a website for the LeemyHendrix show, LeemyHendrix.com. Another question I have is, what message or word of advice do you have that you can give other upcoming photographers?
I'm gonna just give this for any upcoming creative, and that's photography, videography, anything like that in the industry. Just keep going. Like you're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have a lot of bad days. I've had days where I literally, within the last 2 months, I'll say, where I literally cried to myself because it's like, when is it gonna pop off for me? But at the same time, it's like you're talented, and when you know you're talented, and then when other people tell you you're talented, it's gonna really boost your ego. So but in a good way. So just keep going, like really just keep going and keep practicing, keep that practice in, and you'll actually pop off eventually.
That is a good message because I feel like a lot of people put their stuff out there and they give up too fast. They don't keep it going because you never know you're going to get discovered for what you do.
Definitely. It just takes time. Really.
And before we end the LeemyHendrix show, we have one final question. Can you give us a brief description of what's to expect from the upcoming project, Cycle 2 and Living Calvin 2?
So, Cycle 2 of the Living Calvins, it is very similar to Cycle 1. The only difference is it's going to be more lifestyle based. So instead of just the basic portrait, posing type of photos, it's going to be a lot of movement. It's going to be a lot of out of the ordinary backgrounds. It's going to be less studio work and just more location work, which saves me a lot of money. But it's just going to be a lot more lifestyle based, and also it's going to showcase different categories now. I have not came up with those categories just yet because I'm a procrastinator, but eventually I will before it actually comes out. It comes out Christmas Eve this year. But yeah, it's going to be a lot. You're going to see a lot more lifestyle and like just normal everyday like living in Living Calvins.
Are we going to have your famous quotes up there?
So it is going to be quotes and descriptions of each category, but again, it's going to be different categories. The categories are not going to be based off of last cycles. So for example, just to give you a small teaser, it is going to showcase like single mothers, being like more of a MILF type of look, but also being a single mother.
So you heard it here first. Please tune in. Christmas Eve 2021, Living Calvin 2. Let's tell the people your Instagram one more time.
So my Instagram is @Prinze Cam Creative. If you can see it right here, it's PRINZ, Z as in zebra, ECAMCREATIVE.
And if you want to go check out his website, what was the website again?
PrinzeCamCreative.com.
Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been the LeemyHendrix Show, and I'm out.
Hey, run that shit up, Chase.
They wanna know why I grind. I put the family first. I had to work. I got a job. I'm busting just from the first to the third. I had them years. I'm about to win. That shit gon' hurt. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I gotta work. I gotta work. If buddy keep popping that shit, they gon' put him on the shirt. Put him in the dirt. That nigga know he a bitch. Tell him put that in his skirt. Fuck all the ops, they know I'm a flip in the bird. I got the word that these niggas hating their head and I'm popping. I know that they heard. Niggas be thinking they players, but if they fight first, then they will get served. I really serve, I might want a 30, 65, I pop out, wouldn't think he heard me. Put him in the game, I got all these niggas nerve. I do it on purpose. Me and all my niggas get to a bed, the suckers they lurk. And we really rap, I know they heard us. I know they heard us. They wanna know why I grind. I put the family first. I had to work. I got a job. I'm busting just from the first to the third. I had them dirt. I'm about to win. That shit gon' hurt. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I gotta grind. I gotta work. I went from the club to the stool. I'm joking shit. I don't want dick. I just make love to the boo. He hate the way that I move. Cause I'm in the mix. I only make time for my kids. Then I be back on my shit. It's up on the weekend. Then Monday I clockin' my shit. I make it make sense. I just be poppin' my shit. If it's an issues in my little brother gon' come and dropping no shit. Yeah, I be rapping, man, I ain't got time for no this. Your drugs on the payment, we call that shit pain with a twist.